You're now tuned into the fourth season of Atypical Voices in Our Time, the official podcast of Chemistry Productions, a media education company. Let's get it started.
That's AVIOT.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It is the AVIOT podcast. I'm your gracious host, Jay Stokes, rolling solo today. Our other co-host, Jay Random, is not able to join us. He is en route going home. He was actually traveling. He went someplace else in the country. I'm not going to tell you where, but now he is on his way back home. So we wish him safe passage as he gets back to his residence.
Yes, sir.
With that being said, I want to start this episode by speaking more on a topic that I talked about last episode. I was speaking about Joy Reid, who was the host of the show The Readout on MSNBC. She was let go, Black individual, and a lot of individuals online and beyond felt that this was racist. They felt because of Joy Reid being Black that she was let go, and MSNBC wanted to pivot in another direction to try and comply with this current administration's talk of diversity, equity, and inclusion, talking about how, oh, this is not fair to white people.
What?
Yeah, it's a bunch of nonsense. Anyways, another person who works at MSNBC and who has the top-rated show, reportedly, is Rachel Maddow. She was not happy with Joy Reid being let go.
7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. There is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague. It is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows.
And she made her thoughts felt on MSNBC, which I thought was very bold. And this is true allyship. This is how you show your support for marginalized individuals.
Yes.
Rachel Maddow, who is white, made sure to call out the network on their practices that are affecting non-white individuals. That is what you do. So I know some people were saying, oh, she's biting the hand that feeds her. No, this is how you're supposed to do things, how you run things. She has the top rated show, so she has the most to lose. Well, no, actually the network would have the most to lose by losing her, but also Rachel Maddow, who has gained a lot of notoriety, would have a lot to lose as well being on this platform. But seeing as she's popular, I think that if she was let go and she moved to another location, people would follow her there because her voice is definitely very powerful. Anyways, I read this story recently that a lot of her staff on her show are actually going to be let go. So there was some chatter online saying as to whether or not this had anything to do with Rachel Maddow's statement. I don't know per se, but what I will say is that there is this shakeup that's happening at MSNBC. And I think that a lot of these workers are being caught in the crossfires of that. So according to what I have read, there was a quirk in which you had individuals that were working on both Rachel Maddow's show and another gentleman by the name of Alex Wagner's show. And so Maddow has scaled back her show to hosting on Mondays, only on Mondays. And Wagner is going to be hosting on Tuesday and Friday. This is coming after Rachel Maddow has been hosting for 5 nights a week for the first 100 days of this current administration. But she's going to be going back to just Mondays, and someone else is going to be taking over from Tuesday to Friday. Reportedly, an MSNBC source said that the changes were not widespread layoffs, but rather a reallocation of producers to support new programs and priorities. They said the new roles were being posted internally first and would not be posted externally until affected employees had a chance to reapply. Moreover, in the manner of these personnel changes, it is being reported that having employees reapply for roles and time slots they already produce are unprecedented at MSNBC at this scale. There are a lot of changes that are happening nowadays, and a lot of these changes have to do with this current administration and their feelings towards the free press, their feelings towards people that are practicing diversity, people that do not agree with this current administration. Essentially, a lot of this stuff is coming off as a dictatorship, very authoritarian of this current administration. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions that are being made regarding diversity because at the end of the day, this country is diverse. I said this on the last podcast episode. You can't get rid of diversity in a country that's diverse. That doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
It makes zero sense. And it makes zero sense along with this other story that I'm going to tell you about. This current administration is asking Apple to end diversity policies after shareholders have voted overwhelmingly to keep them. This current administration doesn't want Apple, a private company, to go forward with their DEI policies, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Since when are we comfortable with the federal government going into a private company and saying, you need to do things this way? That is why it's called a private company. It shouldn't be having the federal government looking at it and critiquing it on how it's running things, as long as what is running things aren't harming people. They're trying to make a case that these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are harming people. I'll read it to you right here. So this current administration believes that DEI initiatives in the private sector are discriminating against other Americans, including white people and men, and weakens the importance of merit in job hiring and promotions. I'm calling nonsense on all of this because let's come on. When we talk about merit in hiring, all right, I remember when I was going to my doctoral program and we learned off the bat, we went looking at a study, and the study was looking at two individuals who were applying for jobs. One was a white individual who had a criminal record. The other was a black individual who had no criminal record. Identical resumes. Can you believe that the white individual would be hired more times than the black individual would?
That's terrible.
Their chances of being hired was better. So don't talk to me about merit. Your skin color is your currency. Your skin color is your get out of jail free card. Literally, we've seen cases where you have white individuals who have harmed or killed black individuals or non-white individuals and have gotten away scot-free. Meanwhile, you have black individuals, you can't walk across the street without being put in handcuffs. Come on now. I'm calling nonsense on this, and I know that Apple is saying they will have to change some of its policies in order to avoid any legal action that's taken by this current administration or by people that support it. It's really a mess. It's really a mess. Speaking of this current administration working its way into the general public to impact diversity initiatives, did you know that the Education Department has created an NDEI portal to field public complaints? So the Department of Education has created a portal where the public can make complaints about diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in K through 12 public schools.
See, now that's some bullshit.
So the federal government is getting into private companies. They're going into public schools. They've also gone into our homes, because when we look at how women's rights are and how women's reproductive issues are being treated by the federal government, it seems like all those are being taken away left and right. You have certain states where you can't terminate a pregnancy.
If you're listening to the AVIOT podcast on a streaming service, make sure to leave a rating and a review so we can grow our platform.
I understand the argument that life begins at conception. I'm someone who believes that too, right? However, if someone wants to terminate their pregnancy, that is their prerogative. You're always saying, oh, well, we need to make sure that these kids are able to be born and have a chance at life. Okay, what if the parent is not fit to take care of the child? Then what? Are you going to help take care of that child? This government can't even control school shootings. They can't even help that situation. So what makes you think that you forcing people to have children is the way to go? If people are not able to take care of a child, I understand there needs to be better behaviors, right? Better sexual practices, but that's their decision. If you believe that this is against the Lord, against God, allow God to punish these individuals. You are not God.
No.
You cannot control how people act. You cannot control what people do. As long as what they're doing is not harming someone who is physically here or living, it shouldn't be a problem. I'm not a fan of terminating pregnancies, but that has nothing to do with me when it's not my spouse. And even if it is my spouse, if her health is in jeopardy, you got to terminate the pregnancy.
That's correct.
If she is unfit to carry our child, we have to terminate the pregnancy. Like, come on, man. Like, people don't think it's just all about, oh, we need this to happen. I've always said my theory was that because you have white women terminating more pregnancies than everybody else, and because this country is becoming more diverse in terms of colored folk, black folk, non-white folk occupying different areas of society or populating different areas of society, you have a lot of people in Washington in this current political this political administration getting scared. They're saying, oh, shoot, the whites are not going to be the most populous group anymore. We have to stop that. So I think that they're trying to force white women to carry children to term so that they can get their numbers up. The irony is, by doing so, especially causing a lot of stress on these women, you might end up in situations where you're going to have children that are born that have issues. You're going to have children that are born into rough situations where they may become criminals or may not be productive in society. Stop policing what people do with their bodies. Stop policing people that are trying to help society by giving diverse opinions. Going back to the Department of Education. So Tiffany Justice, who is the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, she's quoted in this article right here. I think it's it's an article from The Hill, saying that for years, parents have been begging schools to focus on teaching their kids practical skills like reading, writing, and math instead of pushing critical theory, rogue sex education, and divisive ideologies. But their concerns have been brushed off, mocked, or shut down entirely.
What?
Listen, just because you don't want to talk about certain subjects doesn't mean that they don't exist. Okay? So let me talk about certain ideologies, I guess, regarding race. You know that Black children, Latino children, Asian children, they're growing up in a society where they are discriminated against because of their race as soon as they open their eyes and they're aware of the world.
Yes, sir.
So teaching about that and teaching the history of marginalized groups is important. If you're afraid that white kids are going to feel a type of way, imagine how these marginalized kids feel growing up where they're being discriminated against. They have to grow up faster. You're afraid because little Johnny and little Susie, they're probably going to have to grow up faster too because of this world. It is what it is. Just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, I understand the same-sex education, LGBTQI plus education, that could get a little murky, right? I personally believe that we should allow parents to have a voice when it comes to sex education, because when we're talking about same-sex and all that stuff, you're getting into sex. And I think that we should allow parents to have conversations with classes in order to say whether or not they feel comfortable with their kids taking certain courses. I can understand that piece. However, LGBTQI plus children exist. They are living in this country throughout the world. Just because you don't talk about them doesn't mean that they're just going to poof, disappear. They exist. So we have to do a better job at educating people on diversity. I don't care what anybody says. Speaking of which, I actually want to go back to something that I said on a previous podcast episode. I was talking about HBCUs, and I was saying how I said, well, Jewish people in the United States, they don't have any historic Jewish universities. I was actually wrong. There are. Okay. So my bad on that one. I have to correct myself. If I get things wrong, I will try and correct myself. Definitely, y'all feel free to call me out on any information that I say on this podcast that is not correct. But I just wanted to circle back to that and say that as well. All right. You know what? I'm done talking about the DEI talk. Let's get into another topic, but we're still on the topic of education. There's been this story floating around today that a Connecticut high school student graduated and she could not read or write. Her name is Alicia Ortiz. And people were saying, how can you graduate high school without knowing how to read or write? So here's the thing. Miss Ortiz, she struggled with a speech impediment, dyslexia, and ADHD. And also, she initially struggled in her high school with a language barrier because she moved from Puerto Rico to Connecticut. She felt that her needs were not addressed as she went through school, and she is suing both the school. No, she's taking legal action against the city of Hartford, Connecticut, the Board of Education, and one of her special education teachers. Because though she complained of not being able to have her needs met when it came to learning and it came to understanding class curriculum, she felt that her needs were not addressed. However, people are asking, how was she able to graduate from high school? So check this out. What she did was she single-handedly put in the work, dedicating most of her free time to school, listening back to audio recordings of her classes, and using technology such as talk-to-text applications to complete her assignments.
Wow.
That is how she was able to still pass through school and succeed. I don't know how that applied to test taking. This article that I'm reading right now didn't go into too much detail about that. However, she is definitely taking legal action. And I know the article also mentioned that in July 2024, Hartford's Blue Ribbon Commission on Education was formed to evaluate data, engage with stakeholders, and create actionable strategies to enhance the city's educational landscape. Now, Connecticut, that is the state where I am from. I do not currently reside there, but I'm from there. And what I will say is, growing up, education there was a little wonky. I always looked at school as a joke. I never looked at it as something to take seriously. It's not till actually I got to grad school where I actually started taking schooling, academia seriously, because the subjects became more intriguing to me. I felt that I could truly make a difference in the lives of individuals in this country. But that's crazy. I hope that Miss Ortiz has her needs met, and I wish her the best in life. That is very unfortunate that she has to deal with a situation where she's unable to write or read. That is crazy. In this day and age, you have to be able to do one or the other.
Yes.
You have to be able to read or write. It's not, you cannot afford to not be able to read or write anymore and just pass through life, unless you know like a really good trade. But even then, it can be tough, because if you're writing checks, if you got to do a business, that is a tough situation to be in. So there is that. And now into updates. All right, y'all. So I have been on a mission to build up capital within Chemistry Productions. AVIOT, the official podcast of Chemistry Productions, a media education company, in order to help our efforts to educate society and to help on a community level. I have a vision for Chemistry Productions when it comes to donating to necessary causes, when it comes to educating people on how to properly interpret media. In order to do that, I need support. This company needs support. So I'm asking everyone to please subscribe to the Chemistry Productions YouTube channel, our TikTok page, Facebook, Instagram, listen to our podcast, run these numbers up, engage with our podcast. So in adding to getting the numbers of subscribers, followers, supporters, what have you, up, the engagement also has to be up. I am always willing, as well as the people that work within Chemistry Production, we're always willing to have conversations with you all. We're always willing to build community and have dialogue, because that is the point of this, to create a network where we can speak on media, highlight any potential issues, come up with solutions, and move forward. Part of the solution I see is creating a community and also building enough capital, enough money to help out proper causes. For example, you have, with this current administration, putting federal workers on leave, you have families that need support. If chemistry had more capital, we'd be able to support those families. Not everybody, maybe a select few, but that's something.
Yes.
That is what I see as the vision for this company. That's what I see. I see us truly making a huge impact. So this update section is just me asking you all to make sure to support us, spread the word, let us know what's good. And I believe we can truly not make the entire world, but make a part of the world a better place.
And now for a quick commercial break.
Hey guys, as you can hear, we are unapologetic in our opinions. We may be politically incorrect or possibly wrong, but don't knock us for being ourselves and saying what many are too afraid to admit out loud. Anyways, if you have any thoughts or questions about our show, email us at chemistryproductions@gmail.com. That's K3MISTRY productions@gmail.com. We'll be sure to address whatever you have to say.
With that, let's get into the topic of the day. So we have Real Housewives star Karen Huger. Real Housewives of Potomac, I should say. She was arrested and she has to spend, I believe, a year in incarcerated because she got involved in a drunk driving incident last year, March 19th, 2024. And she crashed. It didn't impact anybody. She was the only one involved in this accident, but she was drunk. And it was not a good scene. She had the kind of, you know who I am type attitude when she was talking to law enforcement.
My name is Karen. Can I have a tissue? On my hand?
I don't have a tissue, ma'am.
Oh my
I do
God.
not carry tissues in my police car. But there will be.
God is
I will
good.
get you tissues at the
No,
station.
I don't need it. I'm not going to be very long, but I thank you for tonight. This has been good for my marriage, though.
Okay.
Do you know my husband?
I do not know your husband. I only
No, my husband has never stood up.
What?
I'm married 28 years. I think
Very
he
nice.
got. Oh, this is the most stunning thing I've ever done. I hear him really. I should have probably taken the cab.
You probably should have taken a cab, yes.
Thank you.
Or an Uber.
But I'm very rich. And sometimes they don't pay attention to you. Are you married?
I am.
You don't say married?
What's that?
You love her?
Yes.
I'm a powerful lover. And when you Google me, you're going to be so ashamed of yourself. I'm bad as fuck. I don't think I did anything bad except the driver.
The reason why she is being incarcerated is because she is a repeat offender, partially. She has 3 previous alcohol-related traffic cases between 2006 and 2011. None of these previous incidents have led to jail time. I spoke with my wife about this, and she was saying, oh, it's so sad that Karen Huger is going to have to spend a year in jail. I am apathetic towards this. I have been involved in a hit and run accident from a drunk driver. I have known of other individuals who have been involved in drunk driving accidents. I have been in situations where I have nearly escaped death. No, I have escaped death. Right, I'm still here. I have escaped death because of someone who was driving drunk. In my home state of Connecticut, there are so many accidents that happen every year from people driving on the wrong side of the highway due to being intoxicated. I have a low tolerance for people who drive drunk. I do not like that people can get behind a wheel and take the lives of other individuals who are truly not doing any harm to anyone. So if someone needs to go to jail, someone needs to be incarcerated for driving intoxicated, so be it. Not a fan. I don't have any remorse. Karen Huger, she should have known better. She's in her 60s. Why are you driving drunk? You have money. You are on a popular television show. Someone else should be driving you if you are intoxicated. There is no excuse for that.
No.
I'm not a fan. So many individuals. I remember back in high school when we were learning about driving and we were taking the driver's ed courses, we were taught about not drinking behind the wheel and driving. And this individual, I remember they showed her and she was involved in a motor vehicle accident. And she wasn't the person who was intoxicated. Someone else that was intoxicated hit her. Beautiful woman. She was caught in a fire because the car caught on fire from the accident. Her entire face, body burned, scarred, messed up. She's still alive. She was still able to live past the accident. However, her whole body was transformed in a way that was unrecognizable. And it's all because somebody who was intoxicated hit her. People who are intoxicated, they ruin lives when they get behind the wheel.
Yes.
It'd be one thing if it was just their life. But oftentimes they ruin other people's lives. And that's something I cannot tolerate. So if Karen Huger has to spend a year behind bars, so be it. I also think they need to take away her license. I'm a no tolerance person when it comes to getting behind the wheel and being drunk. I know I said I have low tolerance. Nah, I renege that statement. I have no tolerance for people who get behind the wheel when they're drunk. No, they should be. They need their license taken away. They need to be incarcerated. I don't even think there should be a 3-strike rule. I think after the first time, you should get your license taken away for, maybe 5 years. I know it's harsh, but that will make you less likely to drive behind the wheel when you're intoxicated. Seriously, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. Not at all. So it is what it is. I do not agree with my wife. I do not feel sorry for Karen Huger, and that is that. And that's the end of this episode. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for tuning in once again. Jay Random should be back with us this coming Sunday. I know he is under the weather as well as traveling. So he's traveling and he's under the weather. Not a good combination, but hopefully he is better by Sunday. We look forward to speaking with you all soon, engaging with you all. Thank you so much to those of you who support this platform. Please continue to do so, and we will see you next time. Peace.
So go a little something like this. That's AVIOT.